on this computer. More, oops. Make host, change host, and action.
Okay, we're all set. Oh, okie doke. So welcome everybody and to our first and hopefully last Zoom pronunciation workshop. The purpose of the workshop is to teach you how speech sounds are produced and how to incorporate it into your lesson when you're tutoring. This is not about accent reduction. It's just about helping your student to be more intelligible in the outside world. And we're not talking about devoting an hour to pronunciation training. 10 minutes at the beginning of your session is a good time to do it. It goes a really long way, and you'll find the pronunciation work also helps a lot with reading and spelling as well as speaking. So we're going to start with how sounds are produced. And before we start, I should tell you, sometimes I'm going to be talking about the name of a letter and sometimes the sound of a letter. And maybe you haven't thought about this in second grade, but the letter is S and the sound is S. So there's two different things we're talking about. So for this little exercise, I'm going to have you unmute yourself so that I can hear what you're doing. And we're going to be talking about the parts of your face, mostly in your mouth, that help produce sounds. So I'm going to say a sound, and then I want you to say it after me while looking at your screen and see if you can figure out what you are using to make this sound. Is everybody ready? Thumbs up? Okay. The first is the letter B, which is the sound B. So I want you to look at your screen and say B.
B. B. B.
Now, what are you using to make that sound? Anybody can call out, I think.
Lips.
Lips. Excellent. So lips is one of the articulators. The next sound is the letter L, which is L. Everybody say L and watch your mouth.
L.
L. See if you can hold it. L. What are you using there?
Tongue.
Tongue. And where is your tongue touching? You can try it again.
Teeth.
It's your teeth, and there's another place that it's
Roof
touching.
of your mouth.
Roof of your mouth.
Roof of your mouth. Excellent. So you've got your tongue and the roof of your mouth. Now, what part of your tongue? Is it the tip of your tongue or the back of your tongue?
Tip.
Tip. Excellent. Okay, very good. The next sound is the letter F, which is, everybody do that one. What are you using for the letter F?
Teeth.
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 And did somebody say lip?
Lip.
Excellent. So you're using your teeth and your lip. Okay, the last sound we're going to do is the letter M. Mm. Everybody do that one. Mm. Mm. What are you using to make that sound?
Your lips, probably also your pharynx, or some part of your
Vocal cord.
vocal cords.
Your vocal cord. There's another important part that you're using that we don't think about. So I want you to try to say the sound of the letter M, and hold your nose at the same time.
Using your nose.
What happened there? So you're using your nose as well, and that's why a lot of times when you have a cold, you can't do the M sound. All right, so let's go over what you've told me. You've told me that you use your lips, your tongue, the roof of your mouth, your teeth, and your nose. And by the way, you don't have to take any notes because everything is written in your workbook. So don't worry about that. There's another thing that we like to talk about, and that is voicing. And you might read about this in some pronunciation material. So in English, most consonants are made in pairs. In other words, you use this very same articulators for both sounds, but for one sound, your voice is on, and one, your voice is off. Now, I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about, so I want you to put your hand on your throat where your larynx is, right here. And I want you to sustain the sound of the letter S. Everybody do that? Now, keep your hand on your throat and sustain the sound of the letter Z. Z. What's the difference that you felt between those two sounds?
Well, Z had more air coming through.
Right, you should have felt like a vibration with the Z. Let's try it again. First do the S, and now Z. Z. Did everybody feel that? Because if you didn't, I have another trick for you. All right, put your hands over your ears and sustain the sound of S. Now sustain the sound of Z. Z. Was one of those sounds louder inside your head?
Yeah, the Z.
Aha, that's because that is the voiced sound. And that just means air is coming through your larynx. But if you think about the S and the Z, you're using the exact same articulators. They're not changing. It's just your voice is on in one and off in another. Okay, I think we can start. Oh, another reason that we're teaching you all this stuff is because it'll make it easier for you to use the material for LitNet, which is pronunciation pairs. It's a pretty easy book to follow, but if you don't really know anything, it can be a little daunting. Okay.
Also, Sue, quickly,
Yeah.
just showing you sort of the different articulators, it's also a good vocabulary lesson for students. So you're going to want to make sure they know the words for lips and tongue and teeth and all, because first of all, it's good vocabulary. But second, when you're going to be trying to get them to make a particular sound, you want to make sure that if you say, put your lips together, that they actually know what that means. So it's sort of a dual, it's also a language lesson in there. It's not.
Yeah, all this is really language. And I found that most students do not know all these words. That's not the most important thing you're going to be talking about is the roof of your mouth. I'm sorry, did somebody else say something or? No? Okay. All right, so we're going to start this going through these letters of the alphabet, which are mostly done in pairs, like I said. So your articulators will be in the same place, one sound voice on, one sound voice off. And you're going to say these sounds after me, and you're going to keep your hand on your throat so that you can tell me which is the voiced sound. Can everybody see on the screen? So the first sound is the letter P, which is P. Its partner is B, B. Which one do you think is the voice sound?
D.
E.
Right. Okay. The next pair is F and V. F is just the sound it makes. And V is
V.
V. correct, is the voice sound. Did everybody get that? Okay, great. All right, next slide. The T and D. So T, the sound of T is T. And it's hard, but try to do it without the vowel. So it's just T. And D is D. Which one do you think is voiced there?
D.
E.
D, you're correct. All right, we'll zip through. Next one, K and G. So the K sound is K.
G.
And the G is G.
G.
G. Excellent. If anybody's lost, just raise your hand. Okay, the next two sounds are the TH. So the first TH is like the TH in thumb, which is. The second one is the TH like in them. So it's V.
The.
Second one.
Second one, correct. Joe, do you have a,
That one, first of all, that TH sound is the one I hear my Spanish students having the most trouble with, besides B. And second, it's hard to sustain a TH sound without having a vowel behind it. Or am I doing it wrong?
you might be doing it a little wrong. So try it again. If your TH is just, your tongue is between your
do
teeth.
that air movement under the teeth, but the thumb, the all require some kind of a vowel.
Yes, that's the voiced one. The first one, the unvoiced, like in thumb or think. See if you can sustain that one, like for think.
I think the difference is if the TH occurs at the end of a word, it doesn't sound like it's voiced, like path.
Path.
Path, right. Or
You should be able to sustain that one, I think, at the end of the word.
yes. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, now the next are friends S and Z, so you already know this, but we'll do it anyway. So sustain, the sound of S is S. Now sustain Z, Z. Well, we already know that Z is the voiced one. The next sound is sh and j. So the sh is sh. And the j is, it's like in the word treasure, pleasure. We don't really have any English words that begin with j.
Juge.
If you go to France, juge, the juge. But we'll do it anyway. So it's sh and j. And which one gives you more vibration?
J.
Right. J. Very good. The next sound is CH and J, which is J. So it's like in church, ch, and J,
J.
like in judge. So it's
J.
ch,
Ch.
J.
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 Ch. J. Ch.
And which one do you think is the voiced one there?
Ja.
Okay.
Ja.
J. Excellent. Okay. Now those are all the sounds in English that are paired consonants. There are 3 that also are called nose sounds. So these 3 sounds, if you put your hands on the side of your nose and you sustain the M, which is and the N, which is I'm listening. And the NG, which is Did anybody feel any vibrations on the side of their nose for those sounds?
It makes my nose itchy.
Yes, and all these sounds, if you hold your nose, you cannot make those sounds. You can try that later if you want to. Okay, the next three are the sounds that require a lot of wind. So the first one is W, which is W. Everybody can make that one. And if you put your hand in front of your face, mouth, you should feel a little wind coming out. W,
Whoa,
W. Everybody get that?
whoa.
So if you're teaching this sound, that's something that you can tell your student. You can put a tissue in front of your mouth and it will blow for W. H is ha. Hopefully you can all feel the wind coming out there. The WH, we say this every year. Nobody really says what and where anymore, but that's what that sound is. I don't know where you hear that sound. Okay, why? Why are we doing that? The next two sounds are both made with the tongue raised. And one is L. Let's all do that. L,
La,
L.
la.
And the second one is for R. So can you tell me what the difference is in those two tongue movements? Try it again. L is L and R is Can anybody feel what the tongue is doing differently?
In and out. Forward, backward.
Very good. Very good. The L is forward and the R is backward. So if you're teaching these sounds, that's a good way of presenting it. Okay, I think, oh, how could we forget the vowels? Okay.
Up to vowels.
The vowels are a little bit harder to see because they're mostly, you're not using your lips and your teeth, but there are some things that you can do to help your students. And really students do struggle with vowels, and it does help them a lot to go over this with their reading and their spelling. So this is called the vowel circle. Some vowels are made where you're smiling, like E. Some are made with your mouth open, like ah. And some they're very round, like ooh. So we're going to go through this vowel circle, and all you have to do is repeat the sound after me, but I want you to put your hand under your chin, and I want you to see if you can feel what's happening with your jaw and your chin. So we're going to start from the left with the smile of E.
E.
Next is I,
E.
A, A, So what happened to your jaw? From E to what happened?
Goes from a smile to more of like a open.
Right. It went from your E, your closed mouth, all the way down to where your mouth is really open. Now we're going to keep going down with the open sounds of ah, oh, ah,
Ah.
ah. Was there any movement in your chin or jaw in those two sounds? Ah. And we're talking about the jaw. Ah. Anything different?
Your jaw goes a little lower with the ah.
Right. Your jaw goes a little bit lower. So those are the open sounds. This is following the circle. Now we're going to come up the right side of the circle, starting with O. O. You can repeat after me. O.
Oh.
U.
Ooh.
Oo.
Ooh.
What happened with your jaw then?
Oh, oh,
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
oh, oh. Doesn't move as much.
Right. Moving which way? Closed or more open?
Oh, ooh, oh,
So if you start with O, O,
Ooh.
oh,
Oo.
oh,
Ooh.
Ooh.
oh,
Ooh.
ooh,
Ooh. Ooh.
oh.
Ooh. Oh. Ooh.
I'll give you the answer.
Harder.
This is harder, but you should feel that your jaw is closing from the bottom
Mhm.
O to the top oo.
Mhm.
It's very slight, and you would be, when you're teaching this, if you have to, just exaggerating everything for your student.
Mhm.
And I think what helps them sometimes are, you know, the smile sound E versus the round lip ooh. They can see that.
Mhm.
It isn't easy to teach the difference between like E and eh, but sometimes that helps, you know, if they're looking at their faces. Okay. So now we've gone over the alphabet. Does anybody have any questions about this part?
Did we skip that middle sound on purpose?
Yes, we did, because you're not going to really be, it has to do with multiple syllabic sounds. And when you get to that, you can call us.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about speech sounds in general? Anything we've gone over? I know it's fast. Okay. So now you're ready to begin with your students. And the first thing you would do is that little exercise we did initially with the, I'm going to make a sound, what are you using? That would be your beginning exercise with your student. And then you have to decide what sound you're going to work on. So luckily, the pronunciation pairs have handouts, and they are, I think you got them, and they're just sounds that are usually mispronounced in the language that you're working on. So like, for instance, you can't see this, but this is Spanish. Tells you the most common sounds people have trouble with. And you want to start with a sound that you can see on your student's face, because they're not going to know what you're really talking about at first. So you would start with a consonant, which is easier. The very first one here in Spanish is a V. And that's a good place to start because you can see that easily on your mouth. And it's pretty common for most Spanish speakers to substitute the sound of B for V. So they would say, I'm very happy. I hope you can hear the difference in my speech. Okay, so let's say we're going to start with the sound of V. So the first thing you have to work on is what we call auditory discrimination skills, and they can also be called listening skills. So the idea behind this is that a person can't produce a sound that they can't hear. So if your student really isn't aware of this sound, there's no way that they're going to be able to pronounce it. So the first activity you're going to do has to do with the student listening for when you say the sound of V. So in your handout, there's a worksheet. It's Appendix A. I don't know if you've got it, but kind of looks like this.
Sue, I can put that up on the screen for us.
Right. If you think that'll be helpful, that would be fine.
I think maybe.
So you're working with your student and you've done your exercises. And now it's time to tell them we're going to start working with the letter V, and the sound is V. And as you can see, I'm putting my teeth on my lip. V. Now, in this exercise, you guys are going to be the student, and I'm going to be the tutor. So your job today is to listen, and when I say the sound V, you raise your hand. If I say another sound, don't raise your hand.
And
So-
this sheet that I've put up for you would be something that you would have that they can't see. You could put the date at the top, and as you go down, if that was correct, you can mark it however you want, with a check mark or an X. And so then you're keeping track of sort of, on January 5th, 90% of the time they were able to hear the correct sound, if it was a V or not. And this is good information because you don't really want to move ahead until, I'm not sure, Sue, what would you say percentage wise?
Well, I would say at least 60%, but you can just tell if they've got it or they don't have it at all. And I don't know if I should even bring this up, but there are some amount of people in the world that just do not have auditory discrimination skills. And a lot of times they have learning disabilities. And if you find that your student is just so struggling with this, abandon it. It's not worth it. It's a small percent, but just in case. All right, so are you guys ready? I'm going to say a sound. If you hear the sound of V, raise your hand. If you don't. And I'll give you a hint. Watch my mouth, because that will help you. If you see my teeth on my lip, that's going to help you know it's the correct sound. Okay, everybody ready? Oops.
I took it away so
that's
they
okay.
can't cheat.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
If that's okay.
That's okay. V. Did the other people raise their hand? Because I could not see. Let's try it again. V. Excellent. W. V. B. V. L. V. Okay, now I'm not doing the whole thing. I just want you to get the idea. And I'm not sure how this works on Zoom. What do you guys think?
I know what I'm doing, so I didn't have trouble. I'm not a good person to ask.
Right.
Something else. Were you
do the-
able to hear when it was a V or not a V, something else? We want the student to raise their hand when they hear the V.
And we're not sure that auditory discrimination is going to work on Zoom, is what we're saying. So I'd like to get to know what you think, if you could hear or not really.
My guess is that it depends on the audio setup that they're dealing with, whether it's
Yeah.
Agreed.
I've got speakers on a desktop, and even then, I don't have a good sound reproduction of what you're saying. So my clue is watching your lips. If you're going to do some other vowels that doesn't include exaggerated lip movement, I'd be struggling.
Yeah, so I guess that's an important thing if you're going to start this with your student, to make sure you get close enough to the screen and to let your student know my lips have to be on my, my teeth have to be on my lips, and,
Right.
and just see how it goes. Because after you do this, there are other sheets. Say your student does pretty good, they do like at least 70%. Then you can go to adding vowels. And you would do it the exact same way. The vowel sheet is So I'll just say a couple of them and so you know what I'm talking about. All right, now we're going to add some vowels, and I still want you to raise your hand when you hear the at the beginning of the sound that I make. So the first one is so everybody would raise their hand. We, lee, the, key, the. So you progress that way. And let's say that's enough for your first lesson on pronunciation. Send your student home, and when they come back the next week, do another round of these. And if they're doing well, then you can add words at the beginning, V at the beginning of words. This is all on your worksheet. Yes, Joe?
I just want to say, for the second exercise you did, I switched over to headphones
Yes.
and I could hear it perfectly. So I'm guessing that students with, if they have headphones or if they have, pods for their iPhones, ear pods, it's probably going to be better hearing you over Zoom.
Do most students, do you think, have that ability?
Mine does. I don't know about others.
Okay, so that's great. If you're going to do auditory, maybe all the pronunciation, they should be wearing their earphones. All right, so let's say the next class, they're doing good and you feel like they understand, they can hear the sound. Now you're ready to start with production. And just like anything else in speech, we think of it as a building blocks. And you start with the very smallest piece and then you build up. Just like discrimination, you started with just the sound and then you added consonants and words. It's the same with working on a sound. So let's say you're the students again. Okay, today we're going to work on you producing the sound of V. And let's go over once again how you put your teeth on your lips and you say, everybody try that. Most people will not have trouble with this. Now we're going to say that 5 times. Ready? You all did great. So we're going to go to adding a vowel. Now, I don't know if you can see this little card. Vi. I want you to say this after me. Vi.
Bye.
I,
Okay, we're going to say it 5 times. Vi. 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 And Zoom is great because what you want is you want your student to be looking at their lips while they do this to make sure that their teeth are on their lip. Usually we use a mirror, but you don't have to now. Okay, the next one, vu.
Boo. Boo.
And watch your lips in the screen and make sure your teeth are touching your lips. Boo. Okay, next is vo. Vo. They. And the. Okay, you guys are excellent. And what your homework is going to be is to take these, well, we usually say take these home with you. And every time you brush your teeth and you're looking in the mirror, I want you to practice saying these vowel sounds with the V.
So
5 times.
So you could have them write it while you're there.
Yes, I think that probably, if we're doing it this way, they should have a little workbook that's just for pronunciation, or part of their regular workbook, and they can write down all the vocabulary words that you're going to go over. So you're going to send them home to practice these. So that's all. That's the whole thing. Little discrimination, getting them to say the V. So it's not, maybe 10 minutes of your class. And when they come back the next week, you always start with a discrimination drill at the beginning, just to make sure they're on the same page. And you can then go to, if they've done all the vowel sounds with a V excellently, then you can go to words with V at the beginning. And where do you get these words? And how do you pick the words? Well, what I usually do, and Leslie also, you think about the person, where they work, what their life is, and you can find anything on the internet. You can write food words beginning with V if your student, works in a grocery store, and come up with a good amount of words. And so you're working on vocabulary, and you're working on spelling, and also pronunciation. And what I do when I have the student write the word down, I'll show them the word, and we'll both say it, and then I'll say, write it. Look at it for 3 minutes, and then write it down, so that they kind of have to remember the spelling of it as well. So you just carry on. Once they've done words, then you do phrases, and then sentences.
And also to point out that working on a sound, a word with the sound at the beginning would be the easiest. Then normally we do the sound at the end of a word. So it could be brave, for example. The V sound is at the end of brave. And then the hardest one is when the sound is in the middle of a word.
And I guess we should say that if they're struggling with this, you can always break the word up. If they're saying they can't get the visit, it keeps coming out visit, you can say, let's break it up. Is it? Is it? And then slowly put the sounds together. And that's a fine way, and okay if they can't. Because speech is a motor skill. And it's like playing the piano or anything else. You have to get your muscle memory up. Are there any questions about this part?
Skip it over that.
Are there any questions about this? The pronunciation pairs has a lot of exercises and vocabulary words for each sound that can help you out. But I said also, as I said, the internet is a great resource. Any other questions? So I'd like to say one more thing, and that's expectations. Can you expect your student to actually change their pronunciation? Well, yes, you can expect it in your little, I was going to say therapy room, but it's your little tutoring room, that they should be able to produce these sounds correctly. Will they be able to sustain that when they go out into the greater world? Well, that depends on how motivated they are, how much they work, and what their life is. If they are among a lot of English-speaking people, then they're going to have a better chance of actually carrying this over into general conversation. But no matter what, you've given them a tool, and it will help them understand the English alphabet and the English language. And if they're struggling to be understood somewhere, maybe they'll think, oh, wait, I'm working on this sound, and maybe this is what I have to do. And there are a lot of sounds to work on for most people. So I would say after 6 to 8 weeks of working on one sound, go to the next one and kind of cycle through. And don't forget about the first one, but you know, change up your sounds every 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know if you agree with that, Leslie.
Yes, yes, very much
Okay.
so.
All right, does anybody have any other questions? Then I guess we're done. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much,
Well
Sue.
done.
Oh, it all.
Please, dog.
Take care, everybody.
I just
Thank
want to say
you.
thank you before my dog barks. She would just wanted to practice her pronunciation.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I appreciate your time so much, Sue and Leslie. It's great to, I was just thinking, be
I
wonderful.
guess we should also, I forgot one thing, that if people are having trouble, they can always email either the office or us, and Leslie and I will be happy to help you. We could even like zoom in on a lesson, I think, or just help you over the phone. So
Well,
forgot
that's a
that.
great offer. Yeah,
Okay.
it makes me think of during this time, and maybe for the future, like having some video libraries like this will be great. I really appreciate all the tutors that participated today. Again, they wanted to just have a small group to have kind of an intimate setting, and this is a great thing to have on file to share with people as they need it. So thank you, Sue, and thank you, Leslie. And yeah, for tutors, keep going, and if you need help, we're here for you. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks very much.